back to DCS Debrief at the Air Warfare Group. Going back to a format that you'll have seen previously. And this is going to become something a little bit more regular, so a lot easier for me to put together these quick and dirty videos than it is for me to do the very formalised ones. So it's not scripted, it's not really an instructional video. Nothing that I do is really instructional. I'm not, as I say at the top of all my videos, I'm not a fighter pilot. All the usual caveats apply. So it's not the way to do it, it's just my way of doing it. This video is going to show a few engagements that I flew on the Cold War Enigma server yesterday, the 30th of October. And it's just me solo, so it's not really the way that I usually try and operate as a pair, because having somebody else there makes up for my my inabilities. But game plan was just to go and hang out in the cloud and drop out and kind of get the drop on people using the text overlord bot. It kind of worked, kind of didn't. You'll see what I mean when we get into it. Top left hand of the screen, you've got the TAC view with my name highlighted and also the aircraft that I'm engaged with highlighted as well. Top right, you've got my cockpit view. Now that was recorded afterwards using the mouse to look around to try and take out some of the jitteriness of VR. It's a bit unpleasant to look at. So if you want to know where I was actually looking at the time it was recorded, the light blue line on the TAC view is where you want to be looking. That's my actual recorded line of sight. And then in the bottom center is just a selection of random external views that I kind of thought looked good while I was recording the track. So I'm going to play the debrief, and then we'll go through and I'll step through what I was thinking at various points, and I'll also link out to some of the fundamentals videos, some of the BFM videos to highlight the skills, the principles that I'm putting into practice at various points, so you can really see them being applied. So let's without further ado, let's crack on. So here I descending out the cloud. I've had a text bot call out, so I'm just trying to get down as low as possible. The call out was at I think 10,000 feet initially. You can't see it on the video unfortunately, but I've set up a bug the bra on my heading bug and put the track bar on the Bandit heading. I'm trying to build some turning room here against Doug Trio. But he takes it away from me by countering that, so we have a fairly neutral pass, 2-circle, and my game plan initially was to rate him, because normally in DCS, although people are getting better, I'm finding, particularly MiG-21 pilots are pretty poor at rating. Am I talking about the right fight? I don't think I'm talking about the right fight here. Perhaps I am, maybe I'm not. This might be bollocks. No, I think this is a guy that I just shot down. No, that's just a geezer that I shot down. There we go, Doug Trio. An ignominious end. I'm not sure what he was trying to do. Escape, maybe. Anyway, moving on. I'm climbing back up into the cloud now to try and get some cover, so that I can't be easily picked up. Obviously, if people are using radars, then they can pick me up, and they can get vectored on by another GCI, but they're going to struggle to acquire me visually while I'm tooling around in the cloud. So I'm now heads in, using my instruments as my reference and trying to sort of stay hidden, and then I'm going to get a call out from the text bot here. Yeah, so what have we got? Yeah, here we go. So the next guy was Squid 1-3. Let's get him up. Squid 1-3, there we go. So I'm getting call outs on the text bot. Squid 1-3 has obviously got all eyes on me at the moment. So I think I was a late spot on this one. Yeah, I was a late spot on this one. So there's a furball, I think it was MB339 versus an SU-25 going on, and then Squid 1-3 is kind of leaking out of that fight. And I had no SA on him at all, and I crested this ridge and just saw him go flashing down my right hand side, and as a result, just stop the tape there. As a result, I didn't really know, I didn't really have any opportunity to do any SA building or build the advantage beforehand. If I just take the tape back here, if I'd have known he was there, I'd have started to build some turning room like you saw on the previous guide, Doug Trio. But Squid13, likewise, he seems to be aware that I'm there, but you can see he doesn't make any attempt to build any turning room either. It just comes straight down the snot locker at me and takes a closer board pass. It probably would have been better off taking some turning room so that he's going to gain a few angles at the merge, and chances are he'd have actually just done a stern conversion because I was completely unaware he was there. Anyway, saw him go down the right hand side. Didn't really get much choice in the fight. Went 2 circle, and then my game plan, as I said before, as it usually is with MiG-21s, is to rate them initially. I'm trying to get as low as possible so I can highlight them against the sky. And the tendency of DCS players, although they do seem to be generally improving, is to pull too hard on the turn and burn themselves out of energy. So I thought, I've got plenty of speed, we'll go up, and hopefully he's not going to be able to follow me up. Now he's actually done a good job of retaining his energy in the turn, so I thought, right, well, okay, we'll keep going up, and I'm trying to see if I can force a vertical overshoot here by coming down. So I've gained I'm sort of defensive now. The game plan hasn't really worked, but I have had a vertical overshoot, rolled to try and put him to try and make use of that, and I realised at this point here, let's see where we're at here. Yeah, roll wings level. I haven't got the performance to go up again, so he's got exclusive use of the vertical there, which is not ideal for me. So yeah, a poor start really. But I've now got myself in the sort of classic defensive situation, and it gives me an opportunity to show some of the defensive principles. So I'm going to go. I want to force him to circle again. And down we go. So I'm now looking at his nose. As his nose comes on, I'm tightening down the turn. I'm using angular bank. You can see they're increasing the angular bank to try and keep him stable in the canopy. So as he comes forward in the canopy, I'm easing off. As he goes aft, I'm increasing the angular bank. But I'm also aware that the deck's coming up, and I'm looking for a good rate deck transition here. You can see his nose coming on, having to tighten down a little bit more, but I know I need to be fairly aggressive in the deck transition, so get quite low here. He's not got quite as much confidence in his deck transition, and at that point I sort of ran out of ideas, and I knew we were going to end up stalemated, and he's proved to be quite a good rate fighter. So I thought I don't really want to rate against him on the deck here, so I figured I've got a little bit of offset there. He's left me a few angles. Left me a bit of vertical turning room here, so I might as well make use of that and see if I can take some angles off of him. So I sort of reversed at that point, going high to try and take some angles, and he suffered a bit of an overshoot there. Took the lead for the gunshot, missed, and then I'm trying to force a vertical scissor at this point because we've already started to get that out of phase movement going. And so I'm looking to force a scissor now at this point, because I know I can win a scissor against a MiG-21. I hadn't at this point MB. That was the first point that I MB'd, that the MB339 was in the mix, which was a sight for sore eyes really, because I thought if he's got his wits about him, he's going to position behind the MiG-21. He's easily going to gun this MiG-21 while I'm in a scissor, keeping him predictable. So yeah, we're kind of going backwards and forwards, and you can see here, let's see if I can pick the bones out of this flat scissor. Recognising that I'm trying to keep the MiG's nose off me is my primary aim at this point, because I know if I fly out in front of him, he's probably going to gun me. So anytime I see his nose coming on, I'm getting a little bit out of plane and just pulling, kind of not really jinking, because I'm already pulling. I haven't really got the energy for an effective jink, but I'm rolling to change my lift vector. And I recognise here that the scissor is going fairly flat and wide, and so I'm going to start to raise the nose, try and build some vertical turning room, so that I can barrel down into his 6 o'clock. and I'm quite successful in doing that, but probably only because he's having to evade that that MB339. He gets himself slow at this point, predictable, and the MB339 takes a gunshot and kills him. The MiG-29, the MB339 hauls off. I want to make sure he's down and out, which he is, and then I'm out of the fight and going back to try and get some sanctuary in the clouds. I realised there was an F5 in the mix as well here, so I thought I'll follow him for a little bit because it's nice to be in company. And then I think I got carried away. I came in the cockpit for something at this point. I think I was turning the anti-icing off because I'd been in cloud. He went high and I lost sight of him, and that was it. I never saw him again. So let's go down to Ocean 25 was the next guy. Ocean 25, there we go. So he's coming around into my 6 unsighted. I have no idea he's there at this point. I'm just kind of tooling around. I don't know, maybe I'd kind of just not paying attention, but I was positioning, talking to Overlord, and as I at some point here I talked to Overlord, or got an Overlord text notification that it didn't say merged, it said 0 nautical miles, I think, and that kind of got my attention quite quickly. It turns out he was trying to get a gunshot on me, and he's obviously trying to get perfectly lined up because he knows as soon as I see that tracer that I'm gonna manoeuvre. But unfortunately for him, I get the call out. I see him behind me, and honestly, I didn't really have a game plan here. I just did the first thing that came to mind, which was to go high, and I knew by the time I got to the top that I could force a vertical overshoot, which I got, and then reversed up. And at this point, I'm just thinking, right, if I can get this into a roller, then I can eventually beat that down into a flat scissor, and I know I can beat a MiG-29 in a MiG-19 in a flat scissor in the F5 because people find it so hard to control an aircraft with that aggressive sort of wing sweep. However, I flew into a cloud, so I thought, I'll take my chances and see if I can get some sanctuary in the clouds. As soon as I went into the clouds, I was getting RWR call-outs, and the guy was just absolutely nailed on my 6 o'clock, as you can see. So that wasn't going to work, so I kept the turn going. I saw his nose coming on, and I thought, right, okay, enough of this. We'll go back into flats again. Got an overshoot by just doing a quick jink, and then managed to force it into a roller. Now at this point, I recognise that, let me just see if I can take this back. It was at this point here, as he barreled around me, that I thought I might get a snapshot on this next pass, because I know he's going low and he's then going to end up coming back across my nose. So I'm going to try and get a snapshot out of this. So we'll see what happened. He goes low, I roll over, and I'm trying to force his aircraft. You can see here, he's now going to come slicing up through my HUD field of view. As soon as he crosses my canopy bow, I'm going to squeeze the trigger. What I'm trying to do is get his plane of motion so lined up so that his aircraft is going to transition through my gun sight. Now we passed a good deal closer than I'd anticipated, and I was a little bit late squeezing the trigger, but you'll see how that works. He's flying underneath me. I recognise that I'm going to get a potential snapshot, and I'm just lining his plane of motion up so that he's going to fly through the gun cross. As he crosses the canopy bow, starts to squeeze the trigger, forgetting that the F5 has that slight delay, but I managed to get rounds on the target. So the snapshot there is all about recognising the plane of motion of the Bandit and forcing that, flying the aircraft, you're flying your aircraft such that the Bandit's plane of motion is going to cross your gun cross. So I'm starting to set it up here, and then I'm forcing his aircraft through my HUD. I'm going to squeeze the trigger when he comes through the canopy bow. In the F5 you need to be a little bit quicker. But there you go, I do manage to get some rounds on the target. Right, let's speed it up again. So he's injured now, or damaged, but he's still fighting. And that is that kind of links back to one of the key tenets of BFM. I said in the defensive BFM fundamentals, you've got to stay tally and you've got to keep fighting. There's no good giving up. Now in the game, obviously, you give up, you get a new aircraft, it's no biggie. You give up in real life, and you know, one way or another, you've got serious problems. So it's a little bit kind of, it's not necessarily the best advice on DCS, but anyway, he's not giving up, and if he'd have cracked on, if this Viggen hadn't arrived, he'd have been alright, because I'd have, as you'll see later on, I'd have run out of fuel, and then he'd have had his pick, but a Viggen turned up, and you can always count on the Viggen community to help you out when you're in a pinch, and so it happened here. The Viggen's fired a couple of Sidewinder variants at him. Again, I'm trying to build vertical turning room here to barrel down into his 6 o'clock, and that's working. He's flushing out nicely now. I'm getting kind of winning cues on the scissor, but then as I drop this wing, you'll see the Viggen just motors up behind him and fills him full of cannon rounds, and that was that for that MiG-19, and that's that for the video. So a bit of a sort of, like I say, a quick and dirty. You can hear my my number one engine rolling back there. A quick and dirty run through. I did actually manage to get the aircraft down on a road, but it was about 10k short of the road base, which is a bit frustrating. Yeah, that's it. Hopefully that was useful, and I'll link out, like I say, to some of the fundamentals videos. Let me know if you'd like to see more of this sort of thing. Let me know if this was useful or if it's just a bit too rough and ready, and I'll try and tighten it down for future ones if that's the case. But yeah, thanks for watching.